Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. Child Protective Services cases are among the most frightening experiences any parent can endure. Don't face them alone. With urgent assist by CPS Protect, you get the peace of mind to raise your children as you see fit, and the personalized assistance of their team of expert child welfare consultants from CPS investigators themselves right when you need it. Get started absolutely free at cpsprotect.com/register, and this is available in all 50 states. Also, if you could go to the site, pleasedoyourjob.com and sign the petition. We need 2,000 more signatures. That's pleasedoyourjob.com. Now I've got a brand new guest. I'm very happy to have Danielle Sather Miller on. I actually found her on TikTok and we have been talking and chatting, and she has been a victim of parental alienation, has not seen her boys in 8 years, and that was when they were ages 4, 6, and 8. They're now at the ages of 13, 15, and 17. Now, as we were talking, she told me that the stepmother allowed her to have a video chat 5 years ago with her boys because the stepmother had a spat with her ex-husband. And so they were allowed to talk until the ex-husband came home, and then he had a fit that she allowed this video chat. We'll talk more about that. Also, her boys were kidnapped twice from her ex-husband, and she was also ran over once and dragged 50 feet. And this is on her ex-husband's criminal record. So I welcome you, Danielle Sather Miller, to my podcast. And you've
Thank
got a
you.
story to tell that we need to learn from. So, how have you been doing and dealing with this parental alienation and missing your
Oh,
boys?
dealing with it. I can't say I'm really dealing with it. I just take it day by day. My stepson helps me through a lot. My church helps me through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
I just take it day by day.
your stepson, you tell me, is going to be a preacher.
Yes. Yes, he is a preacher. He's been preaching for 2 years now.
That's impressive. That's
Yes.
impressive.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's also been helping you search for your sons.
Yes, he has been. He's been looking through every social media that he can find, TikTok, Snapchat, all the stuff I don't know about that he
Mhm.
knows. He's been searching for me.
Mhm. Well, that helps. I don't know how Snapchat works. I can't
I
figure
don't
it
need
out.
it. I was lucky to learn TikTok.
Yeah. Well, you're doing well with your TikToks, and you are spreading the word and awareness.
Yes.
Because this can happen to anyone. What happened to you and me
Yeah.
can happen to anyone.
Yes, ma'am.
And
And a lot are going through it. A lot are, and
mhm,
it's devastating.
mhm. And when we were talking, apparently the stepmother has been arrested for giving birth while on drugs.
Yes, opiates and THC is what was in her system, and she got arrested for it. And those kids are still in their home.
Ugh. See, this is what I want to know. Why are these judges ruling this way, that this is
It's
going on?
crazy. It's corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in who has the most money, is how I feel. And I'm $48,000 in the hole. My mom had to sell her house to keep my parental rights, and I don't have the money to fight it no more. I can't. They've broke me
Well,
and my family.
yeah, it's horrible. And a parent shouldn't be having to be financially broken
Yep.
to have rights to their kids. There was no
Right.
reason why you couldn't have have 50-50 at least.
Yep.
And as we were talking, you're in the state of you're in
I'm in West
West
Virginia. The
Virginia.
case is being held in South Carolina. Horry County, South Carolina is where my
Mhm.
kids lived with their father.
That's why. South Carolina has issues.
Yes, ma'am, they do.
And so does
Yes,
North
ma'am, they
Carolina.
do.
Yeah, they're both bad ones. Of course, everyone says their state is bad, but I've noticed North and
Oh,
South
man.
Carolina are bad.
They've
Uh,
ruined me. I know that much.
Oh, well, you mentioned you did have one good judge, Judge Spruill.
Yes, Spruill. I
Spruill.
really liked him. Yes.
How long did he last? What happened with him?
To tell you the truth, I don't know. We had different judges every single time that we went in front of a judge. It was a different judge. I seen Spruill twice in all of our hearings. Like we would have to go every year to renew my custody of my kids. I had custody for the first 7 years of their life. I mean, and it was every single year. Every single year we'd have to renew our custody agreement. And it was a different judge every single time.
Wow. Then why did they decide to give the kids to the father?
Well, I got into some drug use over all the stress of everything. I ran into some drugs for about 2 years, and I was not complying with his weekend visits. I
Mm.
did not have a way to get them to his weekend visits because the boyfriend I was with at the time had wrecked my vehicle.
Oh.
So I was not able to get them to the weekend visits. So that was considered me going against the order that we had in place.
Hmm.
That's how he was able to get custody of the kids. Now, I never did any dirty drug tests for the courts when I took it back to court 5 years ago, or
Hmm.
when he took it back to court 5 years ago to have my parental rights taken from me. My mom had to sell her house. I passed all of my drug tests. They did hair follicles on me because he would not accept a urine test. You know how many hair follicles I did? I looked like a leopard at the end of it. It was very inhumane to do to a woman. And I was traveling from West Virginia to South Carolina once a month for these counseling sessions. And it was all him and his lawyer drew up all of that. I feel to see if I was going to follow through with it. And when I started following through with it,
Hmm.
he gave up on everything. Like he refused to follow the counselor's orders and everything. Like he went crazy over it and said, I'm not seeing the kids regardless. He don't care. He don't care. I'm not going to be a part of their life.
But then is that some type of custodial interference on his part?
He's been arrested for it twice. Custodial interference is right on his record. Arrested for it twice. He does not care. He don't feel the rules apply to him or the law applies to him, in other words.
Hmm. How long ago was that?
Was what?
Oh, I'm sorry. The custodial interference when
Uh, there was one done in 2011, I think it was. That's when he ran me over with the truck.
Mhm.
And then there was one, he had me mentally committed, saying I was on drugs, had me mentally committed. They released me 3 hours later, and he was already on his way to California with my kids while my mom was going through breast cancer. Had me arrested, mentally committed on a lie. I was released, and he was already on his way to California with my children. And I didn't see them for 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
He was on the NCIC as the abductor and everything. Like, like I said, the story sounds very unbelievable.
Uh-huh. No, I believe it. With everything I've heard, yeah, I believe it.
My goodness.
I mean, other people probably wouldn't believe it unless you go through this.
Well,
You know,
yeah, I have all the proof in my other TikTok videos and his criminal record all on there. It's all on there.
so when those 4 months went by and you finally got to see these kids, so the judge must have given him a slap on the wrist.
No, West Virginia screwed up on this part. The missing child guy I was talking to in California told me, you do everything you can, beg him, you want your family back, do whatever you can do to get them kids back in that driveway. When
Mhm.
them kids hit the driveway, call the cops and he is to be arrested. He
Mhm.
was supposed to be arrested. Well, my mom got on there, promised him that house, that she would sign the house over to him if he brung the kids back. I got on there, I love you, please, I want my family back.
Mhm.
He brung them back 2 days later. We called the cops as soon as he pulled in. They said, well, there's no domestic violence happening right now. I think it was a new cop or something that didn't
Um,
know his job too well, because he was on the NCIC report as the abductor. He should have been arrested for that.
mhm.
But told me all they can do was tell him to get off the property, and he did.
Well, and that was back in 2011. So, man, of course, then they're gonna say statutes of limitation, there's nothing you can do about it. Or I
I feel
just
like I've been screwed left and right through this
uh-huh.
whole thing, and I'm sorry for my language,
Oh,
but
you're allowed to swear, yeah, I
I
encourage
I
I
do. I
do.
feel like I've been screwed left and right with it all. I
Mhm,
really do. And I know at the point when I was on drugs, I was doing wrong, but
mm,
my kids still had food. They still had clothes on their backs. I had them in school. Like, they were not mistreated or not fed or anything of that matter, you know?
right. Well, the
I
people
don't feel my wrongdoings was
mm,
deserving of what I'm going through right now.
right.
I don't, yeah, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Well, and then you've got a, stepmother who is just having babies with opiates and, other things in her system.
Yep.
THC, yeah, and makes me wonder what condition that baby's brain is going to be in.
Yep.
That should make any judge just hand over custody of those boys to
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If I had the money to take it back, I'm sure they would. I mean, I have the icing on the cake, so to speak, for a case if I wanted to take it back, but having the money to take it back and willing to go broke again to take it back, and shoo,
yeah.
that's nerve-wracking to think about.
What county in South Carolina are you dealing with?
Horry County, Horry.
Horry County?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Conway, South Carolina.
geez. Yeah, I just, yeah, this is where, I wish I had money just to throw at some parents and just
Oh, I know.
them help to just
I
go back.
know.
Personally, I'd like to
But
see family court abolished, but
yes, it's a multi-billion dollar industry ruining families. That's how I feel. They're all in 100,000, $500,000 homes, driving Lexuses, Teslas, while we're stuck in our single wide trailers,
mhm,
riding around in our small little Hondas, not hardly making it at all because they took all our money.
right, and they don't know when to stop either with, some people. They will drive parents into ruin.
Yes, they will, and they almost did me.
Mhm.
They did. They almost did me, and I feel saved by God's grace. I am. I have been saved by his grace.
It's hard because, I'm sure with your TikToks, you have parents calling getting in contact with you.
Yeah, going through the same thing I'm going through. The same exact thing. They all reach out to me. They're like, "Your story's so similar to mine. Like, we can
Mm,
help each other." And we do. We conversate. I conversate with a lot of other parents going through these things. Oh man, their stories are heartbreaking too. Oh my goodness.
sometimes you hear stories that are worse than yours,
Oh my.
but, with the parental alienation, that's child psychological abuse, and
Yeah.
these people should be locked up for doing this to our children.
Yes, ma'am, I agree wholeheartedly.
The APA in 2014 put out an article that said child psychological abuse is worse than physical and sexual abuse combined.
Yep.
And apparently these judges don't care. Guess they don't
No, they
care.
don't. They do not. They took one look at you in the courtroom, and that's what it is. They don't know you and your story.
Right.
And
Well,
that's what I always felt so weird about court, having a complete stranger tell me
mhm.
what I'm going to be allowed to do and not allowed to do with my own children that God gave me. God gave me those kids, you
Oh, isn't
know?
that weird? Yeah, right. And admonish you like you're a 16-year-old that didn't bring the car home on time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was just so bizarre to me. And being talked down to like you're stupid.
Yes. Yes.
And these are judges that don't even have their own act together.
Mhm.
Someone just posted on Facebook of a judge. What was she doing? She was picking somebody up or trying to get a date on some site, and she was dressed in a negligee. Did you catch that? I think that was on
I did
Facebook.
not.
Oh,
I'll
it
have to
was,
look that up though.
um, that was on Facebook. If I now that I brought it up, I've got to prove it. Um, yeah, so it's like, okay, so you've got judges that don't even have their own kids, and they're
Yeah.
telling you how to raise your kids.
Yep.
This is just very
And
bad.
even the lawyers, half the lawyers that you hire don't even have kids themselves and don't care. They act like they care, but they don't.
No, no.
They care about the money coming in their pocket
Well, yeah, because they wanna take their wives to Disney, like, every, 6 times a year. You know
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. In fact, I was in a support conference, which wa this was hysterical, and his attorney said, "Oh, yeah, I'm taking my wife to Disneyland, because she's depressed, and, and I was gonna, like, kick my ex under the table and say, "Hey, buddy, you're paying for it. You do know you're
Yep.
paying for it." I mean, because
Yep.
I would get as I was a pro se at that point, but I was getting all the, motions and all the paperwork. But what this lawyer was doing was shoving other paperwork and making copies of other old stuff and putting it in with that paperwork, making it thicker. And I'm like, "Okay, so you're charging my ex all this extra added money to make copies of this stuff, aren't you?"
Yep.
See, and people don't realize that.
Paper costs money.
Yeah, right. And I'm just like, this is weird. You know, um, oh, I'm trying to find that thing. Well, I'll find it. I can send it to you and you can put it on your TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just uh I'll find it. Uh but there's a lot wrong with the system and
Now I seen something about something with a female judge in Horry County, and she was going to be one of my judges at one point, and I'm so glad the hurricane hit. It was 5 years ago when that big hurricane hit down there. She was going to be the judge for the case, and she wasn't. And then we found out it was actually 2 weeks ago that she is in trouble for something.
oh,
Remember what it's for, but she's in trouble for something. I'll have to look that up and send it to you because she was going to be one of the judges. What's her name?
okay, so this is what it is. I'm getting this off of Corrupt Family Courts. A Bronx family court judge allegedly tried hooking up on a swinger app with a
Oh,
mom whose custody case she was hearing. 47-year-old Judge Cynthia Lopez reached out to Cindy Sutherland on the 3Fun app. Uh,
oh my.
Sutherland is trying to get her kids back, shot back and said, BITCH, you know who the I am. The public profile claims Lopez is bisexual and has a male partner named
Oh,
and.
wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And it says a lot of other things that I don't know if I should talk about because I don't. Okay. Well, so what essentially happened was Lopez has since announced her recusal from the case. This is the lovely justice system for you,
Yes, ma'am.
man. So yeah, so this is what we're dealing with,
These are the
parents.
people, they're in charge of our kids.
Yes,
They're in
yes.
charge of us seeing our kids. Those type of people are in charge of us.
Yeah, and people need to know that, okay, so if you're getting a divorce, you don't have to run into a courtroom. You can settle
Right.
it between yourselves. Try to mediate between yourselves and write up your own settlement agreement. And
Well,
also,
my ex wasn't having that.
oh, he
He was
wasn't.
so no, he was so upset with me. He feels like I broke up our family.
Mm.
So he still holds on to that anger. The family reunification counselors said that's one of the reasons why he will not let me see my kids, because he's still holding on to past anger from our past relationship, and that they feel that he will continue to put roadblocks in any future relationship that I try to have with my children, that he's going to put a roadblock in it.
So he's
I
going to
got
make
that all in email.
so he's going to make them pay. I really wish I had the money to just have you go back into court with that.
I feel it would be a waste even if you did. I still feel like he would not follow he would go to jail, but I mean, what's that proven to my kids, putting their daddy in jail? Man.
Yeah,
That's a
see.
whole nother story.
Oh, right. I
Oh
know.
man. Because he went to jail once for non-payment of child support. I didn't push it, but
Mhm,
the judge did. I did not push that. The judge did.
mhm,
And in the family reunification counseling sessions, the boys were allowed to write me 50 questions and put it in a box.
mm.
One of the questions were, why do you hate my dada? Why did you put my dada in jail?
Oh, man.
So I'm walking on very thin ice when it comes to the boys and what they think I've done and what they've been told I've done. And
Right. I mean, the judge putting him in jail has nothing to do with you. I mean, you don't have that much power, whereas
I
my
know that's what my answer was. I didn't put him in jail. The judge did. That's what my answer was to their question. And the family reunification counselor said I answered each question perfectly the way they would have answered it if they were in my shoes.
well, that's
Yeah,
sad.
those were a lot of hard questions because they were accusing me of letting my ex-boyfriend sexually abuse them.
Mm.
And I do not think so. I would unalive somebody,
Mhm, mhm.
if I'm saying that right without getting us kicked
Correctly.
off,
Yeah,
for messing with my kids.
right, right,
And there's just no way. And this is being beat into my kids' heads.
right, and that's a shared persecutory delusion that is being and that's child psychological abuse.
Yep.
So, technically, you know, a judge should just be handing those children over to you along with having intense counseling for child psychological abuse and
Yeah,
shared persecutory delusions.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm
I
so
miss
sorry.
them. I miss them so much. And I know there's going to be a lot of damage to undo when they do come back in my life, because I have full faith that they will come back. I do. I have full faith. They're going to want to know the other side of the story, and
Right.
they're going to have the other side of the story when they come looking for it. I'm not going to lie to them about anything.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's always 2 sides to the story, and
Yeah.
it's amazing how and I'm sure you dealt with this too, flying monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing that the ex will recruit people to
Oh yeah.
spy on you. It's like, don't you people
I've had best friends do that to me. Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
Yeah,
I've
what is
learned a lot through this whole process.
Oh, yeah, it's don't people have anything better to do? I mean,
No, not
any
at all. To be
no.
in trouble. Mm-mm.
If anyone said that to me, I'd be like, "No, sorry, not getting involved at all.
Right.
That's between you and whoever," you know?
Yeah.
But there's people that just jump on the bandwagon, they believe everything they hear because they can't think for themselves. They're so
Well, the other side is very believable.
right.
And they make themselves look like God, in
Yes.
other words, and that's 2 times it has
Mhm.
been said my ex-husband thinks he's God. One from the family reunification counselors and one from Sonia, his girlfriend. They think he is God, was her words, and I have that on recording. He
Yes,
has a God complex.
God complex or the
Yes.
victim complex. Oh, uh, the victim complex killed me because it's like drama
Uh,
must run in our family. Unbelievable.
it is. It really is.
Um, yeah, when you go back to the ex going into jail, I'm not a fan of putting a parent in jail. I know there are parents that want the other one jailed for parental alienation.
I mean,
Because
I'm not against it, but I feel the kids would hate me even worse than what they do. You
right.
know, I'm all for justice being served. God knows I am. I'm all for that. And I do believe that would be justice being served. But I also feel my kids would hate me worse.
Yeah, I agree 'cause I
Damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
it is, it really is. I mean, if my ex was behind in child support or whatever the problem was, I would be the one running up to the rail saying, "Hey, Your Honor, don't put him in j do not put him in jail. We can work something out. Something can be
Right.
worked out." But no, he was the one running up to the rail and he's saying, "Your
Mhm.
Honor, she's defiant in paying her child support." It was craziness, and I'm telling you, putting a parent in jail is not the smart thing, judges. I hope you're listening to you attorneys and judges because
I hope
what
so too.
it destroys these kids because the
Yes.
weirdest thing was like the flying monkeys. As soon as
The
my
other
boys
parent gets blamed for it.
right, right, the boys walked into school and everybody knew I was in prison.
Oh.
They knew that quick. How did they know that quick? The flying monkeys told their kids and embarrassed my kids, and which caused a physical altercation with my oldest son and his father. So
Oh.
congratulations.
Yeah. Don't they feel good about themselves?
Yeah, yes. In fact, um, you know, I just don't understand why they even use debtor's prison for that anyway, but I don't want to go off topic with the thing is, this parental alienation is deadly, and I know they order a parent to stay away from, like if you were awarded custody, they would have that parent stay away for 3 months, no contact. So you could rebuild your relationship with your child.
Yes.
And they would have to get some type of counseling on how to, I don't know, behave.
Yeah, and cope with what everyone's been through.
Right. I mean, I
Man.
don't know what I mean, I know they wanna get even with us for leaving, okay, I get that, but I'm just like, move on with your life.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I was so willing to share my kids with the stepmother, boy, that was a big mistake. Being
Ooh.
too nice and too honest. It's always the ones that
Yeah.
are too nice and too honest, and I was told
And
that too.
it ends up biting you in the butt in the end.
Yes,
They
yes.
use everything against you.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I just don't know what to think of all
My
that.
my ex told his woman that he's with now stuff about my past. And I guess she was trying to get me to bring stuff out because she was like, yeah, me and Matthew did the swingers convention, or not a swingers convention, it was Comic-Con, and they brung a girl home with them. Well, they go to Comic-Con with my children. So are my children involved in all this stuff too?
Oh, yeah, it makes you wonder
They're
what's
picking
going
out
on.
girls for their bed with my kids with them at Comic-Con.
I hope not.
That's exactly what happened. I don't know if it was the truth, but that's what she told me anyway. I don't know if she was telling me that to get something out of me, or I just don't understand why she would even tell me that to begin with.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I was mad at him that day, and that was the day she let me video chat with the boys for about 10-15 minutes.
mm, that's really, I don't know what to think of these people. There's just so many personality disorders out there. And then when they do this to our kids with this parental alienation, they're creating more
Yeah.
personality disorders. I hate to
Mhm.
say that, but then that generates more food for the machine of family court in the future.
Yep.
And I have, in fact, I always tell my people on my podcast to complain about their judges. The judge is behaving poorly. You can't like complain on their rulings. You have to complain on how they behave, right? So
Yeah.
I said to myself, it had been on weighing on me for a long time. And so one of my friends says, well, you've got to write it up. So I wrote up a judicial complaint and it went through. And a judge is now into early retirement, and I'm grateful for that. But what they do is they promote them
Yeah.
into senior judge. And then if they run short of judges and there's too many cases, then they pull them out of retirement. But yet they're still getting their pension and they're getting paid at taxpayers' expense.
Money making scheme.
Hmm.
It really is. It really is.
What do you do when parents say, "Oh, where are your kids?"
Oh man. Oh man. Sometimes I say he's here with me now.
Mhm,
Sometimes I don't even claim I have kids because I don't want to go into that whole entire conversation.
mhm, mhm.
Sometimes I do get into the whole conversation and they shy away like, whoa, that was
Yeah.
a lot, you know. And then a lot of times I get persecuted, like, you must have done something really bad. You're a woman. What woman gets her kids taken from her? So I'm very reluctant on talking about it with a lot of people. Now,
Mm,
all my close people, my family, we talk about it all the time.
mm,
It's our life. We're used to it now, although we shouldn't be.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it's our life now.
Yeah, I know I was asked at a family reunion of my current husband, where are the kids? What happened there? And so I told him, I said, they were taken away through lies and false allegations via CPS and family court. And they just looked at me and kind of just slithered away. But you got to wake
Yeah,
people up. I figure I'm gonna
yeah,
say this all the time. I'm gonna wake people up. So because they need to know that a false accusation can be placed on them at any time. And
yes,
this can happen to anybody.
yep.
I mean, you could be in an
Ruin lives.
right, ruin your life. You could be in an intact marriage and have this happen. But it's
Yep,
worse when going through a divorce and leaving someone, it gets worse because that's what they do.
yep. See, and it wasn't so much the judge with me, it's my ex. I have orders. I'm supposed to have my kids on summers and everything right now as we speak. He's just not following this order. He refuses to follow this order. He didn't even let it get past family reunification counseling for me to have my first visit with them. He refused.
It's hard to know what to do. Um, I
All
know,
they tell me is take it back to court. That's all they tell me. Take
but
it back to court.
they're the ones who should be handling this
Yep.
because they've got their laws on the books, and people don't know this either. Law enforcement has these custodial interference laws that have been on the books for the last 40 to 50 years, and they have not been trained on them, and they haven't been trained when they went to police academy. Even lawyers aren't trained
Yeah,
on this stuff.
because they all tell me, I've tried it so many times. They all tell me it's a civil matter.
No, it's no, no. Um,
That's what's come out of their mouth to me every single time. It's a civil matter. You have to take it back to court. I can't do nothing for you, ma'am.
what
But
about
even though I have a court order right here in my hand stating I'm supposed to have my kids this whole summer, you can't do anything?
have you filed an offense report and not an incident report?
I have not filed anything after the family reunification counselors quit. I have not done anything since except for email, text and beg, email and beg. I
Oh,
send I have sent gifts to their school, which is being denied now. The first time didn't get denied. I
hmm.
put all my contact information on a card for them and some candy in a box. Now, the first time it got sent through. The second time they denied it. So I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to do that no more.
Yeah, I've called the school on that too, and they deny everybody doing that school thing. I don't know, but I think the schools are just as guilty.
Yes, I feel the same way. Because it is in the court order. I'm supposed to know my kids' grades. I'm supposed to know like sports events, um,
Mhm.
singing, stuff like that, Christmas plays. I'm supposed to know all that kind of stuff. And I'm blocked of all contact. I'm blocked of all contact. They will not talk to me. And when I found out about her having her baby on drugs, I did message her and asked her, do you love your baby any less, even though you had your baby on drugs? When I was on drugs, that made me love my kids no less. Will you please let me talk to my kids again? And she said, I don't want any more contact needs to be sent to my lawyer, Josh Edgeworth, which I did email him and asked why his client was not complying with our order. And
Oh.
he told me not to contact him no more.
Oh, well, then he's just as much of a child psychological abuser.
I have all those emails.
Yeah,
I can send you everything.
he's a
Like,
participant.
mm-hmm. Josh Edgeworth is his name.
Uh,
Make that clear.
well, his mother didn't raise him right either.
I just pray like my kids do not ever have to go through something like this. I do. I pray so hard my kids are never without their kids in their life.
Mm, because
I
they,
hope this I hope it don't go on through the generation and generation. I just hope it stops here.
mhm, mhm. I was really proud of my one
Hey,
that I was telling you about earlier. I told him to go to counseling, and he did. He actually went to a counselor, and he's talking to someone who I hope knows what they're doing with child
oh,
psychological abuse.
yeah, I hope so too, because they could mess them up even worse than what they
Yeah, I
were
know. It's like,
when they
oh,
go
please.
in. Oh my goodness. Now the family reunification counselors did tell Matthew that he had to go to outside counseling because of the anger he was still holding against me. Now, if he did it, I'm not sure, but that was one of the requirements from the family reunification counselors as well because of
Outside,
his anger.
outside counseling.
Yes, outside counseling besides what they were doing with the family reunification counseling. He had to seek outside counseling from that to
Hmm.
get past his anger for me.
Yeah, that's something. See, that's what people don't understand, that when they leave, these people are already angry. I don't know how yours was, but I mean, the anger was always there anyway. And then you go and leave, then.
Well, I was 6 months pregnant and he cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend at his boss's wedding. So, I
Uh,
mean,
mhm.
I was 6 months pregnant with our last child, and it's been since. It's been hell on wheels since.
Yeah, it's like that happens, then you want to leave, and somehow all this is your
Yeah,
fault.
and I ruined the family. Yeah. Make
Right.
it make sense, please.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I just,
It does not make sense to me at all.
oh, gee, I'm sorry this is happening.
Don't be, it's not your fault.
Well, I just feel so bad for people suffering through this. And, there are people out there that say parental alienation is pseudoscience. And it's like, well, until you go through it, then you won't
Yeah,
be saying that.
it's real, it's
Real.
very real, and it's ruining people's lives.
Oh, you're right on that one.
I'm just glad, I went through years of the depression. I
Hmm.
went through years and years of it. I still have a taste of it here and there where I just want to lay in my bed all day, but I feel I'm too blessed now to stay down and be stressed out and depressed over it. And I'm too involved in the church and everything now. I keep myself very, very busy. That helps me a lot.
Hmm. Well, that's good. The thing is to stay busy,
Mhm.
so, I mean, you're doing all the right things. And, you know, um, I'm sure in time, hopefully, they will find you on social media.
Yeah, I feel that's how it's going to happen.
I'm sure they're curious.
I know they are.
Mhm.
I know they are. There was another incident that happened 2 years ago. I totally forgot about this, I'm sorry.
That's
But
okay.
my cousin was at a water park and called me and was like, "Hey, I'm in front of your kids right now. What do you want me to do?" I said, "Put me on video chat and let me talk to them, please. Put me on video where they can see me." She did. I was able to tell them I loved them and I missed them 10 times before Matthew got between them and like made them get in the truck. But my oldest was looking over his shoulder like he wanted to keep looking at the phone. So I know they're
And
curious.
that was
I know
2
they
years
are.
ago.
Yep, 2 years ago.
Okay, well, that's positive.
Yep,
So that would have made him 15 going on 16.
yep. And she was pregnant with the baby that she was on drugs with.
Well, I'm sure they weren't thrilled about that. I'm sure teenage boys want to wake up to a screaming baby at 1 AM, right?
And that's the second one too. So
Oh,
there's 5 boys in that house now, and they're all boys.
oh man. I bet your boys, I'll bet a Starbucks. They can't wait to get out of there.
I can't wait for them to come home. Oh man. I just can't wait for them to see who I am now and who I worked so hard to be.
Right.
I feel really happy and they'll be proud of me.
Oh, most definitely. I'm so glad we met.
I am too.
I would have thought over TikTok. I've met a couple of great people on TikTok.
I didn't think that was going to go anywhere, and I actually paid to sponsor those videos. I paid, I think it was like $17, and it was totally worth it because I've gotten so much out of it. I've met so many people from it. I'm helping other people with
See?
their, like we're talking. That
Mhm.
helps other people too,
Oh, yes.
go through it.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. I know people calling. It seems like there's more people calling during full moons. I noticed that too, you know? I mean, it
Ruby.
was because when I was a nurse in the ER, it's like, oh, it must be a full moon. This is like,
Yeah, well, my husband is a preacher and correctional officer.
oh
Full
no.
moons are definitely crazy at his job.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, hey, I would like to have you come back on sometime. How can people reach you if they, want to talk?
Through my email, Danielle Sather 23 at gmail.com. You want me to spell it out for you?
Sure.
DanielSather@gmail.com.
Oh, well, this was excellent. This will be so helpful for a lot of people. So don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio. You can find me on platforms I don't even know about. Join me again here in the future with Danielle Sather Miller and other exciting guests. And feel free to buy me a coffee to keep this podcast going. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you.